like, share, and subscribe. And ring the little bell. Ring the little bell so you're notified when new videos drop. So the question is, can Big Finish survive a recession? Can it survive a recession? Can it survive a depression? Which is what I actually think we might well be looking at. Can it survive depression? Probably not, right? Depression is a big deal. But can it survive a recession? I don't know. I'm not a financial analyst. I read stuff, and I'll tell you what I read. But I really, really don't know. I hope so. The bottom line is this. I very, very much hope so. I like Big Finish, right? I think we got a lot of very good Doctor Who and other genre treats out of Big Finish over the years. So, I like Big Finish and I would like to see it survive. Now, the last few years have been a bit ropey. That is true. We're going to be talking about that. And it's all kind of ties in together. But we're going to look at the 2022 releases, which was somewhat of a soft reboot, or maybe hard reboot, on across their entire ranges, right? Because I think they need to do something, but again, that's what we're going to be talking about. And then we're going to look back at the last recession, the 2007, 2008, 2009, and see what they're putting out then, and see how they survived that, right? You know what? Your guess is as good as mine. I don't know. My bottom line is, I hope so. And maybe is the answer. Fine. Like, share, subscribe. All those things are fan-friggin-tastic. Definitely subscribe. My subscribers are way down. Is it YouTube throttling me? Is it the summer algorithm? I don't know. I don't bloody know. Maybe both. Maybe neither. But if you can hit the subscribe button, that'd be really, 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 really nice. I am pathetically grateful. Yeah, I think that's the word I would use. Pathetically grateful for everybody subscribing. Comment. Let me know what you think. Can you share the video? That really helps. I mean, that super, super helps. Comment and let me know what you think. If you disagree with me on anything, let me know. I don't mind people disagreeing with me. I don't even mind being wrong, right? If you can say, oh, no, Tzvi, I don't think you're right there because of this, and this, I'll go like, oh, that's a fair point. Look, I'm a Bible-thumping religious guy, so I, believe, biblical stuff. And I look at all these people in the Bible, right? And I think the stories are in the Bible to basically the same reason we have fiction anywhere is to so you can understand something about human nature. But that's the thing. I think it's the reason of literature and entertainment in general. You can understand that. And I think if you look at them, all those people made mistakes, right? I mean, in the Old Testament anyway. Everybody screwed up at some point or another. Moses, everyone. So I'm like, they're all. If I believe in that crap, they're all probably better than me, and they all screwed up. So I think I can live with it. I don't really mind being wrong, right? I don't mind being wrong. It's okay to be wrong. We're all wrong sometime or another. So let me know what you think. Sign up my Substack in the notes below. Sign up my paid Substack. What the hell? I don't know. I nearly sent out a bunch of stuff yesterday. Today maybe I will. I got working on something else and I got distracted. That's what happens a lot. But this month I want to send out a bunch of stuff. Fine. Like, share, subscribe, comment, Substack. We've covered everything. So let's first talk about the upcoming recession, right? So I was going to do this 6 months review of Big Finish 2022 because again they did this big relaunch. But yesterday, the day before, I was listening to a video from your boy Zach's channel, Comic Matters with your boy Zach. Very good channel if you like comics. It's a great channel. I listen to it a lot. Now he is very analytical in business, much better than I really much better. So he's got spreadsheets of every crowdfunding comic book campaign going, and he tracks the data and he knows what's going on. And he was saying, other than the 2 or 3 biggest people in crowdfunding comics like Ethan Van Sciver, everybody's seeing a 40 to 60% drop right now because times are tough. And I think it's also going to translate over to translate to everything. I think money is going to be. I think we're heading into really rough times. I think it's probably starting around now. Now, why are we heading into really rough times? I think because it really ties into why Big Finish need to do rebrand themselves, relaunch themselves somewhat this year. It's essentially good times make weak people make bad times, bad times make strong people make good times. That's essentially where we are on the cycle. We had strong people made good times, and then those good times made weak people, and the weak people make the times. So what do I mean by weak people? So essentially we are in the mess we are now is because people just can't deal with being wrong. I said before, everyone's wrong sometime. They never learnt that. They never learnt the ability of dealing with the idea that they were wrong. And objectively, they were wrong. They thought that, wherever you are politically, right? They thought Donald Trump was a very destructive force, right? And he was evil in every way, shape, or form. And it did get hyperbolic very, very quickly and just detached from reality. But when the detachment from reality is screamed at you constantly from media, every corner of media, social media, for your entire environment, it takes a lot of personal fortitude or self belief to go, no, 2 and 2 equals 4. I don't care how many times you scream at me, 2 and 2 equals 5. But anyway, these people, they hated Donald Trump. They hated Brexit. Same people hate Brexit. And it's basically a worldview they had. The world would be much better if we could just get away from the evil white male patriarchy. And then they saw Donald Trump and Brexit happen. They thought, no, that evil white patriarchy is happening and it's going to kiss and go on. And then they saw racists hiding everywhere, coming out the shadows. Go, oh look, they're racist. They're racist. It's worth noting. A lot of people they scream were racist. Really turned out not to be. Do you remember the Covington kids? There was some protest and they were harassed by this Native American Indian person, and then everybody said, "Oh, look at these white supremacists." They turned out not to be. Sued the arse off everyone. Got billions, I think. They probably made it in the end. Certainly got millions from CNN, right? You remember Jesse Smollett? He is an actor, and he put a noose around his neck and said, "Oh, it's a hate crime because there's so much racism everywhere," right? And it turned out he just made it all up, right? Do you remember Carl Rittenhouse? Carl Rittenhouse was a white supremacist who went out and just shot innocent black people, rising up and protesting, right? It turned out not to be. It was a multiple rapist trying to murder him. Multiple child rapists trying to murder him in a gang or in a lawless mob. But they saw racism everywhere because they can't cope with being wrong. So there was a big coalition of people who said, we will do absolutely anything to get rid. We will ally with anybody to get rid of Trump because he's the worst ever. And they enacted all these policies that literally pulled us to the place we are now very, 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 very quickly. I mean, the destruction of the oil industry. And you might say, well, that's just America. How does that affect me over here? We live in a global economy, right? And we saw like the buffoonish of the withdrawal from Afghanistan, which is clearly where the Russian invasion of Ukraine began. Right, but then, well, listen, we're only going to have a few years of this weak, doddery guy in charge. We better take advantage of it right now, which is exactly what happened. So essentially, we are looking at a serious recession, like real problems, because people couldn't cope with being wrong. They just could not cope with it. They couldn't cope with the idea that Trump was a good president, and everything they believed was just nonsense. But and now it's kind of hard to argue opposite that. You believed everything you believed he would do. All the destruction of the world they believed he would do actually has happened when they did the opposite of that. So okay, I don't know as much about Brexit, but it certainly doesn't seem to be the end of days that Nick Briggs and co thought it would be. I mean, I remember before I stopped listening to the podcast. The Big Finish podcast was saying, oh, we used to do like the trifold release, but you just can't get them now because of Brexit. And they were also really eager to say how Brexit was awful, right? The reason Brexit happened was because of Obama. I hate to remind you, right? The reason Brexit happened because Obama had a idiotic Middle East policy that created ISIS, that created people flooding out of the Middle East, running for their lives. Middle Eastern culture is very different from Western European culture. No pluralism there. Big clash of cultures. Didn't work out very well. British public said, we don't want so much of that. We like to be nice to people, but we don't want to kill ourselves to be nice to it. And I don't really, the basic idea was if you're on a plane that's crashing, you should put on your own mask first. I wonder if anybody does that, right? You got your kids with you, your plane's crashing, I guess I'll put mine on first, kids. I might lose one or two. Listen, I've never been in that situation. I don't want to know. I really don't want to know. I hope I pass out and die before, I have a heart attack and die before we hit the water or something. That's what I hope, right? I don't want to know. I don't want to. But anyway, so we are heading to a recession. There's going to be, By the way, this is like that's really worth mentioning. One thing that's driving this recession or depression is green policy. Green policy, which has been badly thought out and badly implemented. One of those green policies was putting money into wind farms and to solar farms, which I'm fine with, right? Listen, if we can get alternative energy that works, I am, yes, fan-dabby double-dosey. That's fantastic. But how it actually works, the thing to put the investment is, they need a bunch of minerals to build the stuff for green energy. Those minerals come from Afghanistan. Now, Afghanistan, since America gave it to the Taliban, what was it they gave it to? I can't remember who they gave it to. Yeah, along with like $80 billion worth of weaponry. Made a deal with China, right? China to export the mineral rights, which now America will be the American government is now buying to make their solar and wind. Yeah, it's not exactly doing much for the environment, right? Propping up China isn't much, but yeah, that's basically why we are at recession. Also, most of the fertilizer world comes from Russia. They said, oh no, we can't get from Russia because they're invading Ukraine. Look, okay, just a quick aside. I'm pretty sure the whole Ukraine thing was a way of giving billions of dollars to Ukraine, right, or earmarking it to Ukraine, which would then go in the pockets of the politicians giving it to them. I see, that seems to me likely what's going to happen. As I said, the bottom line is, energy prices are doubling. We're in a recession. They didn't get fertilizer from Russia, so this year's crop's going to be about 30% smaller. Plus, Ukraine is the breadbasket of Europe. We're not heading for good times. How's Big Finish going to do? So Big Finish in their own little world also didn't like being wrong, right? They because they had a monoculture at Big Finish. And they really believed the reason Brexit happened and Trump happened was because racists felt and bigots felt we need to take over the world, right? And they really believe it. They totally believe it. And the weird thing is, they ended up going really all in on a huge racist, Jeremy Corbyn in England. Like just the hugest racist that we've ever seen. Well, we've seen in like 60 years of British politics. Thankfully, the British public is awesome, right? Listen, if you want my advice on how to run a country well, give 2/3 of the power to the working classes and split everything up and give none to the intelligentsia, right? Because the working classes, they generally speaking knows what's what, right? And they're the people who need to like put live with the results of policies. Anyway, so Big Finish, they went crazy, right? They said, they hate women and gay people and black. I don't know why they thought that, but they really thought that. And so their product for about 3 years, it just became very weak, right? They firstly, they were consumed with this political insanity, which, as we can see now, was absolute insanity. And ideological insanity, and so they had to hire people based on their identity who weren't very good at the job, right? We had lots of very badly the last 2 years of the main range. Tragic. I mean, it really broke my heart, right? I thought the main range was fantastic, and if you're wrapping it up, which made a lot of sense, they needed, you could have made it a celebration, right? And there's so much to celebrate because it's so freaking good. But that didn't happen. It was just like, the worst one is, what was that one by Gemma Arrowsmith, I think her name was. It was like a Scooby-Doo plot of, it was on a 17th century or something like that, sailing ship, and there was the cabin boy was clearly a woman who wanted to go and see the sea because women were oppressed. In history, yes, women were oppressed. So were men, right? So was everybody, unless you happen to be a landowner, which was nobody, right? It was about 1%. Everybody was oppressed. So anyway, what happened was a lot of people stopped buying their ranges. And I think that Nick Briggs has said that many times on the podcast. He said, the reason we're revamping is because people like new things. No, I don't think people like new things. You were fine up until you went into the political insanity. The reason your Rangers weren't selling is because you made you lived in a monoculture which was insane, and you made bad creative decisions. Anyway, so much like most of the rest of the world, go woke, go broke is the expression. And I don't actually like using the expression woke because it's something that people who are like liberal, progressive type people will latch on and go, "Oh, I'm not listening to you because you use the word woke and it's got no definition." If you want a definition for woke, how I would define it is the uncomfortable platforming of a strange idea, uncomfortable platforming of an ideology within an existing popular franchise, right? And when I say ideology, I mean they mix together things that everybody agrees with, like women are people too, and black people are people too, and gay people are people too, which everybody agrees with. Like everybody agrees with that women are people too, right? No, I don't think anybody doesn't. I understand. Wendy Craig in the 70s, again, I heard this from Big Finish, had to use a pseudonym to sell her TV scripts. That's messed up. That's also 50 years ago, okay? But in general, I said the product ranges, just did not do very well, and we're in a bit of a major relaunch, right? As I said, and again, I understand there was racism, bigotry in the past. It wasn't there in 2015, right? And pretending it was doesn't really help because I was there and most of us were there. Who wasn't there? The idiot kids now who are like screaming at everything's racist. So 2022 has been a bit of a relaunch. How are they going to do? How's Big Finish going to do? So let's have a look at what they've done so far this year. Joint January 2022. So it kind of was a slowish relaunch. We had Doctor Who 40. So this was quite a good relaunch of the fifth. I say all their relaunches have been pretty good so far. A pretty reasonably good relaunch of the Fifth Doctor range, dealing in being 40 years since he took on the Doctor. This does lean very heavily into fan wanky territory, right? I think it's very important. They had Ice Warriors and they had Cybermen on the cover. These weren't bad releases. Again, these weren't releases that were like, again, if you're using the definition of the uncomfortable platforming of ideology, I don't think either of these stories were that, right? That I recall. Bernie Summerfield, I don't listen to it. So the novel ranges must not have done quite as well as they hoped because they had an initial rollout. And then they massively widened the distribution, right? It was like once every 3 months, and it turned back to like once every 6 months. So this is the second one. It's written by Matthew Waterhouse. It actually sounded quite good, but they're just too long for me, right? They're too long for me, and they're expensive. $18 or $18 is a lot of money for a it's a bit of a slog going through like an 8-hour or 6-hour book on tape, right? So it wasn't. I really liked the one they did with the year earlier with the Master, called it was the Masterful box set with is it called Masterful? The story was called Terror of the Master. It was a 3-disc release. That was great. That was just the right length of time. So then we got Terra Nostra. This is part of the ongoing Big Finish way of continuing the Blake 7 with after the death of Paul Darrow and Gareth Thomas. Gareth Thomas was never good, right? Paul Darrow, Big Finish, he always sounded like 106. And Jacqueline Pierce, once Paul Darrow and Jacqueline Pierce are gone, they didn't know what to do. They couldn't really continue. So they kept doing. They're doing like these sideway quests, and Terra Nostra is I think the third of them. It was a pretty good one. My favorite one was the Clone Masters. But what they started to do here was develop a way of moving the story beyond season 4 of Blake 7, which is the way I think maybe they should do. I think to have longevity is going to have an ongoing forward-moving narrative of some kind. And you know, they had Baben in it. That Baben release was awful, right? That was some just replete with the political insanity, right? That had made so much a Big Finish, unlistenable. It was but you know, I just not sure as I said, the longevity of of this range. They tried to also do something with Avalon, which I think is its own separate thing. Trouble with Avalon, where I don't think they're doing any more of them. They haven't announced them anyway. Is they made her a very bland character. She was a nothing character on screen, and they could have done anything with her and made her totally. And she just made her bland, right? So often that female characters or black characters or black female characters or gay characters are defined by their immutable characteristics. Like Reva, third sister on Obi-Wan Kenobi, she's a black woman, and that's the whole thing I can do. She's a black woman. She snarls a lot, and she doesn't really have much character and doesn't really make sense. And it's a very lazily written character, which is which you get a lot. I mean, I'm looking at this Terra Nostra release, and I see there's a little woman on the cover who was actually much bigger, right, in it than on the cover. But it was fine. But if in Recession, I don't see this being recession proof. I don't see that range making it in a recession in this range. Also, the books. So Charlotte Pollard, the further adventuress. I think this was a need to try and do something with McGann that would sell. They did again use the Stranded range, right? I'd follow Paul McGann his entire time on audio, right? Bought every single freaking release, and I liked all of them. I really liked all of them, and that's the release they shoehorned in his companion, Liv Schrenker, who was from the future, who turned out to be a gender and sexually fluid lesbian from the future who here's something you should know about Big Finish. If anyone's going to have a romantic relationship, it's not going to be heterosexual, right? So although you could argue that Liv Schrenker did, because in Stranded was essentially mainly about it was a major plot point anyway, was Liv Schrenker hooking up with somebody who lives in the doctor's house where he had to live for 100 years while whatever was going on, which in itself was quite an interesting idea, who was a woman, one of these new type of women that has a pee-pee, right? You didn't see that. And listen, I'm not saying a woman with a pee-pee isn't a woman, because that's science. Science says women have peepees nowadays, okay? Super science. That's what science is. Women have peepees. And it was a very big deal that Liv was like, oh, it doesn't really matter that you have a peepee and you're a woman. We're going to start loving each other and dating each other. And it was very, very similar that if, let's say I took over Big Finish and I did a release based on, some arcane bit of Jewish law that you have to have faith in, to believe, and it just I wasn't interested, so I was out. I dipped out that range, and they basically ended. They're rebooting the McGann range. That was a big fail, right? That was one of their bigger fails. And Peloton again, I didn't really trust it. I didn't buy it. We're coming off this era of wokeness, but this was their way of trying to sell stuff, putting lots of member bearers in. You had Alpha Centauri, you had Ice Warriors, you had River Song, you had Paul McGann, you had Colin Baker. It seemed desperate to me. I didn't want to buy it. $30. Yeah, no, I'm not taking a punt on it, and nobody's really talked about it. It's been completely forgotten, right? So that was a bit of the old guard, I would say. There we go. Next month. Doink. So then Lone Centurion, I guess during lockdown they managed to get Arthur Darvill. This thing never really appealed to me that much, but man, it's cheaper than the Arthur, that $30 one. But so yeah, look, I used to get everything from Big Finish, but because of those few years where everything had to be about stunning and brave, kick-ass lesbians from the future with penises. It wasn't so much for me, so I really dipped out on a lot of stuff. I don't see them rushing to do more of this. Maybe it made money, maybe it didn't. But this was their first first two major relaunches, I would say. The third Doctor Adventure, The Annihilators, absolutely fantastic, right? This is where they got the quality back up and running and sparkling again. And again, not a hint of stunning and brave lesbians with penises from the future. It was just a good story, right? Which I enjoyed. Also featured a preview of the relaunch of the second Doctor range, which has who was it? Was it Michael Troughton? Michael Troughton taking over the role, and it's got post the War Games. This is all, and I think it knocked out the park. I was signed up for that range afterwards to go for it. So then we got Survivors. They relaunched Survivors: New Dawn. I was happy to be out of Survivors, right? So it kind of like I stayed on and it petered out. I'm like, okay, I'm done. And again, because they developed so much animosity with me, the listener, I'm like, I'm not dipping back in. And I'm quite glad I didn't. I haven't really felt the loss of it at all. Old Friends, this was a very good release, right? And I think this is probably going to continue being one that works on the Ninth Doctor Adventures. But, you know, they're on the second season now. I do see the sheen dying down pretty darn quick on this. But yeah, we had a great Cyberman two-parter. And it was very organic to the Ninth Doctor. It really worked. First story on it was a bit weak. They had actually a very good Cyberman story in volume 3 of it, and that which they could have put that together to make this one of the best releases they ever did. But that one's probably going to continue. I do not see Torchwood surviving. I don't see Torchwood surviving a recession or a depression at all. Right? You know, it's just so far away from what Torchwood was. I don't know how big their base is. They don't have John Barrowman. I doubt they'll have John Barrowman back. This one's, I think it's probably going to go down. I don't think I'm going to miss it, quite frankly. So the Blake's Own Books, books on tape. That's probably the best way to go. But making it $10 is much better. How long is it? Let's have a quick look. See how long it is. Now, I didn't buy this because the Baben release, as I said, was absolutely awful, right? Absolutely awful. So, how long is this? Production credits. Wow, 447 minutes. That's what? 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, 42. Wow, that's a long release. That's over 7 hours, right? So, why is this $10 and those other ones so much more expensive? Space 1999. I don't know how much this release has torpedoed the range, because they made it into this strong Brexit analogy, which was so it was so slanted, right? Essentially Simmons, who's lies a lot and wins a political victory to put resources into finding out how to get back to Earth, which is of course impossible, right? Yeah, the reason Brexit is impossible because the people in charge of Brexiting don't want to do Brexit. Right? It's really not complicated to work out. It's not impossible. I guarantee you this, right? Every civil servant, if you say your children will die in 3 days if you don't work out how to do Brexit, they'll work it out pretty darn quick. And I'm not advocating violence, right? It's a motivation issue. Right, which they do mention in this so when Simmons wins that they can't find a way back to it, and you're just not motivated. But it was such a open political stupidity, right? Stupidity with they could have done a release where they flipped it completely on the head, where they where they did a very Brexit. We could have a Nigel Farage written episode, which I wouldn't. Even though I believe more than Nigel Farage sides than the Nick Briggs side, quite frankly, I wouldn't advocate either way. Why not just make this a neutral space? And I'm not saying don't express your worldview as a writer, but probably don't live in a modern culture either. So, yeah. So, I don't know. And they probably got another release in it. And as long as I think they can bounce back, maybe. But again, if they're releasing one of these a year, this is going to be, January, February next year? We're not going to have a lot less money in our pockets then, right? You're going to have £20 disposable income? Probably not. You're going to be counting those 20s. I think the same is true for the Stingray releases as well. I mean, although they did release another one pretty dark. This was the second one, I think. I don't know. Unit Nemesis. This is not surviving. I'm sorry, no way. I bought the first Unit Nemesis on a punt. Didn't even get through listening to it. It was boring as hell, right? Yeah, I don't see it surviving. If they do any more 8th of Marches, it's not going to be to make money. Right? This is not a profit leader. I just don't think there's going to be the ability to do these sort of things. And I did hear it was absolutely awful. Didn't bother buying it, but the reviews I read were it was terrible. I never really liked Julian. Olivia Polet as Mrs. Steele. She never really Mrs. Pill, I should say, not Mrs. Steele. I never did the comic book adaptations. I don't know how big the fan base is there, but I get the feeling this is something with a too small a fan base to survive a recession. Fourth Doctor probably can survive, and these stories I found pretty good. I found the first one, Blood the Time Lords. I really enjoyed it, right? I really, really did enjoy that one. Ravencliff Witch was a bit meh, but it was okay, right? And also they're priced better, which makes a big difference. Torchwood is toast. Minor Hojack, yeah, oh boy, that would have sold no matter what, but it wasn't good. It really wasn't good. Now, let me go over here. So, Doctor Who Stranded 4, didn't buy it. Rebooting it, it just doesn't have legs. Now, here's a range which they relaunched, and I really hope it does. It is able to survive. Stephen Noonan's First Doctor, really liked it. Really, really liked it. What I would recommend is, you should have people like Stephen Noonan do First Doctor short trips and things like that. I think just get people more used to hearing him. I like this release, right? I thought this release really, really worked. We got another one planned. I hope it survives, right? I hope this survives. Problem is, I just don't know if a personal budget is going to support all these releases a month, which is why we're going to be looking at the 2006, 2007 years. War Doctor, fantastic. I love this one. Doctor of War, really, really, really love this range. Maybe we'll see more. We got one more, but I'm not sure how many more of these we're going to see. Torchwood 1, I don't think it stands a chance. Companion Chronicles, I hope continue. I forgot about this, right? I totally forgot about it. I only started listening to it yesterday. I got distracted. Thunderbirds has a strong audience. Again, depends how big the recession is. Depends how big if it's a depression. I don't know. I really don't know. To May Waterworld. Actually, first Back to Earth. So I found this was they're gonna have to do a bit more to keep this range alive, right? I like hearing Christopher Eccleston. I do think he needs to get to some therapy. He seems depressed, right? He does seem depressed. But I like Christopher Eccleston. This was nearly a very good release with a little bit more thought. I think it could have been better. Could have been a lot better. But I think okay. In a poor market, I don't see this selling. They need to do more, right? They need to do a lot more to bring people in. War Doctor, I hope that continues. I do hope that continues. And I think there's probably a good chance it will. I mean, look, bottom line, Jonathan Carl is probably a lot cheaper than Jonathan Hurt, right? I think I think I can see pared down releases going on with that, and I would like to see that happen. Blake 7 Heroes and Villains. So this was another one of these curious one-off releases, and I just don't see it being sustainable. I quite enjoyed it, but without moving a narrative forward, I think that's what you need to be able to keep putting out product. I don't see this one surviving. Also, was it Waterworld? So I didn't buy this range because honestly, I haven't heard a good 6 Doctor story from Big Finish for about 3 or 4 years. And also putting Ruth Madeley as a new companion who's in a wheelchair on audio. It just seems like they're trying to make a point that people in wheelchairs are people too. I believe you, right? I told you, woke idea. Well, what's woke when you use something as a platform idea? It's always a mixture of ideas that you agree with and the idea is you don't, like, men can have babies, okay, and women have penis, okay, and people in wheelchairs are people too, yeah, okay. I don't need to be lectured. I think that's what, and that's the feeling I got from it. Somebody has sent it to me, and I really should listen to it. And if I listen to it and I like it, I will pay for it. But I'm not motivated at all, right? I'm not motivated to be lectured about the rights of man, right? Yeah, no, I'm not motivated at all. Tortured has said, I don't see it surviving. Robots, I can't believe it went this far, quite frankly. I jumped out after the third release. It's dull. It was. There was another one that there's another company. I'm trying to remember what it was that did a really interesting thing with robots and AIs integrating with society. I really can't remember what it was, but that was far superior. And Sherlock Holmes. Listen, I think Sherlock Holmes will always sell. I mean, honestly, just get Richard Earl to read Sherlock Holmes. I will buy that, right? But yeah, you got to make it much cheaper. Honestly, they got to move to a streaming service. The price is just way too much, right? It's just way too much for all these things. Yeah, so that was May. Well, I say in general, this year has been a bit of a stonker of a year, I mean, compared to how bad it's been previously. Out of Time 3 knocked out the park. And also, introduced me to, was it a new writer who I think is like a standout, Lisa McMullen. I'm intrigued to hear the Doctor versus the Nine and Shell Shock. I mean, yeah, this is the fourth Doctor range. They can just keep on prodding out and people will probably still buy it. This looks exciting, right? This Sylvester McCoy, but again, you see they go for the member berries approach to make you buy it. And I think that's what they got to be doing more, right? So Return to Rebus and Cybermen. I got it pre-ordered. And honestly, I'm quite excited for it. War Master's always going to sell, especially this one with David Tennant. And again, $20. I think that's reasonable, right? The $30 one seems a bit overpriced to me. So let's see what the rest of the year has, right? So we got more. You see, it's been what, 6 months since the last one. Emancipation of the Daleks. Read by Dan. Yeah, I'm sorry. If you're going to do 12 Doctor stories, they haven't found anybody to read them where I go, oh yeah, I need more. In fact, I far prefer Alec Lee's 12th Doctor stuff. Where is it? Season 12, season 13. I'm actually writing a story for season 14, which I'm about the way through. Yeah, this is way better. It's on his YouTube channel as a book on tape. Far better. I just really don't have that much of a interest in this. But Beyond the War Games, they really proved themselves to me. So with that third Doctor release, I'm excited for this one. This one probably has legs for a couple of years at least. Not sure about Unit Brave New World. Like the Unit stuff has been weak. It's just the bottom line. It's been Nemesis has been weak. I'm not taking a punt on this. I don't think this survives a recession. And classic Doctors, New Monsters, that probably will always work. That probably will always find an audience. Jekyll and Hyde, I quite like their classics range, but I'm dipping out, right? And this is before the recession bites, right? They've already like chased people away. River Song, no. The last River Song one, they got a hook to it. They have to have a hook on something that will make you want to buy it. The last one, I'm putting her in the 70s in the Pertwee era. I really liked. And the Sixth Doctor continues with Rachel Madeleine. Again, it just feels like I'm being lectured to. Like who's writing these ones? That makes a big difference. Well, Paul Marks, Jonathan Morris, and Robert Valentine. Well, they are three. They are three good writers. Okay, they are three good writers. That does change things for me somewhat. It does. Yeah. Ruth Madeleine in it. Okay. Paul Marks is pretty good. And here you see again with the Ninth Doctor, you gotta put a bit of member bearers in that to bring people in, and they got some Tarans in it. Makes sense, right? I think the more we have seen the Ninth Doctor do likes do Doctor Who things, the more people are going to be happy. I dipped out of Gallifrey again during their politically insane period. Firstly, I didn't want to hear thin allegories about how Trump was the worst ever when we lived in the best economy ever. Finally, are we hearing any analogies, thinly veiled analogies to a leader who's a doddery idiot who's also just destroying the world? No, weirdly enough, we're not, right? And also, I'm just sick of hearing Lala Ward huff and puff and sigh at me. I don't need it, right? I don't particularly need that. And UFO, I don't know. It depends how big the fan base is. Really, the bottom line. It depends how big the fan base is and how popular it is. We're still living off the 10th Doctor being in lockdown in 2020. So yeah, but this one seems a leap too far. So I said no to this one. I love the new adventures of Bernie Summerfield. Honestly, I like Bernie Summerfield in general. I've followed her right from the beginning. I loved her pairing up with David Warner, but it's still very much a Bernie Summerfield range. I hope this one survives. I think it possibly can, depending how bad the recession is, right? Doctor Who 40 was pretty good. More War, Doctor Unbound. Yeah, listen, I'm happy to get more of that. Excited to hear what more they're going to do with the Third Doctor. We'll probably buy this master set. No interest in Dimension Canon. Dorian Gray, that ship has sailed, mate. Ship has sailed. Unit Nemesis, 6th, 7th Doctor, 8th Doctor. This is going to be the 8th Doctor reboot, so I'm intrigued to see how they going to reboot it. 9th Doctor, they just need to be able to do more. I can't believe they gave a second season to Shilling and Sixpence Investigate. It blows my freaking mind, right? How they made enough money to sell. Look, I got a bunch of the Big Finish originals. That was for a Trump economy. That was not for a Biden economy. It was not good. It was not good. So how did Big Finish fare in the last recession? So let's have a look back. So this is January 2006. And you see how fewer releases we had a month. We got 2 Bernie's books and 1 Doctor Who release, Peer Pressure, which was actually a very, very good one, right? This was Max Miller. This one with Max Miller, isn't it? Or who was it? Roy Hudd played Max Miller. Yeah, but you see, we had a much greater focus on quality. So again, just 3 releases. Goddess Quandary. This was Burning Sonnenfeld when it was really, really great. Night Thoughts, another, very, very good story. And so here we have like 3 releases, which I think is the most you get in this period. Right? Hang on a second. Crystal Cantus, great story. This was a Veiled Leopard that was a giveaway. Time Works. You can see the Paul McGann range getting a bit stale by then. But let's look forward to 2007 when the recession really started to bite a bit more. Renaissance of the Daleks and Horror Glam Rock. So you see, they found a new way of marketing of releasing McGann, right? And it really worked well. They released it on download, I think weekly. You had like much more punchy episodes. It felt much more like a modern production. Race of the Daleks, wasn't a great release, as I recall. It was not great. But again, and they started experimenting with the way they did releases. So you did like 3-in-1 stories with ID. I think Urgent Calls was in that. Mortally Beloved. So look, you're seeing a lot less product. And a lot more new experimentation to find new customers. Also, the branding was much better as well. So you had Phobos, that was the 8th Doctor one, and Exotron. And then and this is when they started doing Dark Shadows. Let's flick forward to 2008, which is where you saw the 8th Doctor Lucy Miller range going well. And they managed to expand. They were on a period of expansion. So they certainly, look, with the Stargate stuff, they were looking to expand and get out more product. as a result to people of lower sales, right? And also their sales got really hit by the return of Doctor Who in 2005. They got cut in half. But so that's when they also came up with the companion Chronicles. Right? So it seems to me what they did in the last recession was they stopped and they thought and they reevaluated. And they came up with the ways of new ways of capturing the audience, right? Of being able to capture that audience and audience money. What are they doing that now? Well, you got to remember, it's 15 years later. People are 15 years older, all right? This energy to like chase after your audience is something that you need energy and youth for, and they really need to be bringing in a new crowd, a new generation at Big Finish, both in production and in writing. And sadly, over the last few years, when they focus on identity rather than quality, we haven't really seen that. Look, I'm optimistic that people like Don Martin will be able to give some push. And what was that wrote Wink, Lisa McMullen? It was fantastic. It really was. It was very good. But you do see like this increased innovation and less product range. So are we going to see that again in 2023, 2024? If there's a survive, probably, right? How do you survive a recession or a depression? You have to be clever. You have to think on your feet, and you have to decide you want to survive, right? That's really what it is. You got to decide that you want to survive. Big Finish has decided they want to live, right? They decided that their platforming of ideology throughout their releases has not been successful, right? They decided they did. Some place says no, we don't care. We just want to go down. We just want to crash and burn. But Big Finish wanted to survive. I hope they continue wanting to survive. Will they survive a recession? I hope so. We'll probably just get rid of a lot of the chaff, and we're probably going to get a lot higher quality. Something that will actually happen. If people are counting their pennies, there's going to be a complete meritocracy, right? There's going to be no more, well, we haven't had enough black women write stories this month, so we've got to have more black women, right? It's got to be a complete meritocracy. And I'll be clear, if I don't care the identity of anybody who can write an interesting story, that's what they need to focus on, right? That's what they need to focus on, which they really haven't been. And the reason they really haven't been, it's so paradoxical, because of the wonderful Trump economy. That wonderful Trump economy made them go through the era of doing releases that didn't sell enough, or that didn't connect with the audience across the entirety of entertainment, right? So maybe the awful Biden economy will make them go back to actually trying to entertain us, to get our pennies out of our pockets, which is they're going to have to work a lot harder to do. My name is Tzvi Lebetkin, the rabbi from another planet. Please like, share, and subscribe, and ring the little bell. Ring that little bell so you're notified when new videos drop.